This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. I'll be filling in for Sean today and tomorrow. A couple of American law firms are investigating NIO because they say the EV startup exaggerated its revenue and profits. And not by a little. They say NIO falsified its net income by up to 95%. NIO vehemently denies the charges, but it launched its own independent investigation. The Shaw law firm and Brager, Eagle & Squire are reaching out to investors who have lost over $100,000, and it sure sounds like this could turn into a class action lawsuit. NIO's stock is down 63% from its peak last year. China and Europe are leading the way in sales of electric cars, with the U.S. far behind, but Americans are warming up to the idea of owning an EV. In 2019, the AAA, or the American Automobile Association, surveyed households and found that only 16% of Americans were interested in electrics. Now, the AAA says, that's jumped up to 25%, and amongst the millennials, it's 30%. The AAA says the main reason why more people are interested in EVs is the high cost of gasoline, but it's also because more EV models are becoming available. You know, that deal between Walmart and Canoo is actually a little more interesting than we realized. The retail giant agreed to buy at least 4,500 electric delivery vans from Canoo, with the option to buy up to 10,000. That order alone probably saved the company, and its shares shot up 50% on the news. But part of that agreement means Canoo cannot sell vehicles to Amazon, which is one of Walmart's main competitors. In fact, Canoo cannot do any business with Amazon or any of its subsidiaries. The deal also gives Walmart the option to buy up to a 20% stake in the EV startup at a price of only $2.15 a share. Canoo's stock currently sits around $3.50 a share, and that makes us wonder if Walmart might actually end up buying the whole company.
The future of Michigan is extraordinarily bright. We have such incredible assets, and I think more and more we're realizing how to put those together in a way that's going to help this state really help lead the nation as we go forward.
We've got some personnel changes to report here. Tesla is losing its top autonomous and AI executive, Andrej Karpathy. He gave no reason why he's leaving the company. One Wall Street analyst says it might reflect problems that Tesla is having trying to bring full autonomy and robo-taxis to the market. Reuters reports that Tesla will probably find his replacement within the company because it's going to be hard to find someone with his skill set on the outside. Lordstown Motors is promoting its president, Edward Hightower, to become CEO of the company. He's replacing Daniel Ninivaggi, who will become executive chairman. Hightower is a former GM and Ford executive with an engineering background. Lordstown's planning to start production of its endurance pickup in the third quarter of this year with Foxconn. And by the way, Edward Hightower was our guest on Autoline this week, and we'll provide a link to that show in the transcript or the description box below if you'd like to catch up on what he had to say about leading the company forward. You know, if you think BMW and Lexus have gone crazy with their front-end grille designs, check out this monstrosity from Chinese automaker Trumpchi, which is owned by GAC. Say hello to the M8, a 7-passenger MPV with a gargantuan cascading grille with 10 vertical slats. And if that's not nuts enough, there's another version that's equally as huge, but features horizontal bars. Prices for the M8 range from about $26,000 to $38,000. And speaking of wild vehicles, Hennessey, the company known for taking sporty cars and making them even sportier, let us peek under the covers of its first EV. Codenamed Project Deep Space, it's a 6th-wheeled, 4-seater, teardrop-shaped EV that will have a 400 horsepower motor at each wheel for a total of 2,400 horsepower. That said, it's aiming for the fastest 0 to 200 mile an hour time, as well as a range of 620 miles or about 1,000 kilometers. Production's supposed to kick off in 2026, and each one will cost $3 million. Look at this. We're getting a better look at the Cadillac Celestiq, that hand-built flagship EV that's going to cost over $350,000. If you look at the upper corners of this picture, shot from the trunk, we can see it's a hatchback. And also note the unique material choices for the seats. Looks like the seat backs might even use real wood. Now take a peek at this view looking at the rear seats. There's lighting on the door panel in an interesting pixelated pattern. The seat belt latches look like they're incorporated into the hip bolster, and we think those lines in the rear windows indicate they're smart glass, which can change opacity at the push of a button. This will also be featured on the roof of the Celestiq, and don't worry, there probably won't be too many more teasers since this car makes its public debut on the 22nd.
At Schaeffler, we pioneer motion. Electrifying mobility, manufacturing smarter, reducing CO2 emissions, making energy production clean. Schaeffler pioneers motion to advance how the world moves.
We want to know what drives your testing. OTA, connected car, diagnostics, remote testing. Intrepid Control Systems is here to help you work from anywhere. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.
Honda sure is making its naming structure more confusing. It's got the CR-V and the HR-V, and now it's launching the all-new ZR-V in Japan. Zulu Roger Victor. Eagle-eyed viewers will recognize this is almost exactly the same as the HR-V, but with a few minor differences. We notice a few tweaks to the front and rear bumpers, and it features a push-button gear selector. The biggest change is under the hood. The HR-V comes exclusively with a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. The ZR-V either has a 1.5-liter turbo mated to a CVT or a 2-liter engine that's paired with 2 electric motors. Those are the same engine options as the new CR-V that we reported on yesterday, and the ZR-V goes on sale in Japan this fall. Hyundai released a lot of the specs on the IONIQ 6, which goes on sale in South Korea and some European markets later this year, and in North America in Q1 of 2022. Here's the basics. There are 2 battery packs available, 53 kilowatt hours and 77.4. The smaller pack with 18-inch wheels delivers 610 kilometers of WLTP range. That's 379 miles. We expect the EPA range to be about 340 miles. Hyundai says it only uses 14 kilowatt hours of electricity for every 100 kilometers of travel. That translates into 4.4 miles of range per kilowatt hour, which would make the IONIQ 6 the most efficient EV available. While Lucid claims a version of its car is that efficient, those numbers are not backed up by its official EPA rating. The dual-motor all-wheel drive version of the IONIQ 6 comes with the larger battery pack, and while Hyundai did not divulge its driving range, it did publish its power output: 320 horsepower and 446 pound-feet of torque. Don't let the swoopy design of this car trick your eye. The IONIQ 6 is actually quite a large vehicle. It has a 116-inch wheelbase that's more than the Hyundai Palisade. It's 191 inches long overall, which is only about 5 inches shorter than the Palisade, and it's 74 inches wide, which is a little bit more than a Hyundai Sonata. Thanks to its 800-volt architecture, the IONIQ 6 can be charged from 10% to 80% in 10 minutes using a 350 kilowatt charger. In South Korea, it starts at $42,000 for the base model and $49,000 for the all-wheel drive version. There's a lot more to this car, and we'll provide you with additional information in the days to come. You know, Peter Brock is one of the most creative and influential automotive designers of the last half century, and he's our guest on Autoline After Hours later today. My colleagues Gary Witzenberg and Lindsay Brook will also be joining me for the show, so I invite you to join us for a fascinating journey with one of the design legends of the automotive industry. And with that, we wrap up today's show. Thanks for watching.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering, boost your game. Scheffler, we pioneer motion. And by the Michigan Economic Development Corporation.